What's up, observers? You're tuned into the Observe Network, and I got a special topic to talk to you today. It's about vaccines. More specifically, the manufacturing companies of the vaccines and how they have been operating with poorer countries across the world. It'll shock you about how some of these companies, specifically today, we're going to discuss Pfizer, how they've been operating with poorer countries. You're tuned in to Observe. Let's go. What's up, observers? You're tuned into the Observe Network. I'm your host, Javon Ingram, and today I'm going to be discussing with you the vaccine manufacturers, specifically Pfizer, and their nefarious practices across the globe while distributing the COVID-19 vaccine that they came up with. They've been doing all types of backdoor deals, crazy stipulations in contracts, holding governments hostage, walking away from negotiations for 3 months while people die. The vaccine has come and it's helped a lot of people, yes, but we have to examine the power and the leverage that these companies have when these pandemics and situations arise. It's almost like when they do gas prices shooting up when there's a gas shortage. There has to be a cap. They can't charge $20 a gallon for gas because it's in short supply. There must be checks and balances for large conglomerates. And Pfizer is proof of that during this pandemic. Now, Pfizer has currently 9 contracts in Latin America and the Caribbean. So basically, it's the Caribbean, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Mexico, Panama, Peru, and Uruguay. But there's 2 major countries in South America that the negotiations fell through, and that is with Argentina and Brazil. And it is solely due to Pfizer's ridiculous request in these contracts. Let me go over some of the information, because they're being accused of bullying people across the world and holding people hostage, holding the vaccine hostage, and using it as leverage against poorer countries, third world countries, developing nations. They're going as far as to ask for sovereign items like their embassies, their military bases. Yes, I said military bases. What does Pfizer, a pharmaceutical company, need a country's military base and their embassies as collateral on debt? They're also asking Argentina, they asked them to get an international insurance policy so that they would not have to be held liable for any part of neglect or errors or lawsuits that occur due to the use of the vaccine. Now, at first, Argentina said, no way, you have to be liable for the product that you put out. But in desperation, they caved and said, okay, we will pay any lawsuits that arise due to the taking of this vaccine. Now, that is not an uncommon practice. We have that same practice in the US. It's called the PrEP Act, which is the People's Readiness Emergency Preparedness Act. And that act states that the companies cannot be held liable if they are putting out a life-saving vaccine. The government would have to take the tab. But they can still be held accountable for negligence. If they do anything that is negligent, they can be sued directly for that. But if any side effects occur or anything like that, the government would foot the bill for that lawsuit, according to the PrEP Act. And we have that in the United States. Pfizer, with Argentina, wanted a step further. They didn't want to be held liable for anything at all. They actually asked Argentina to write it into law that Pfizer, a company, is not subject to Argentinian law. This has never been heard of. So it got to the point in the negotiations that Argentina said, no way, you're taking advantage of this situation. I'm sure that they didn't discuss their prices, but I'm sure the prices was high. And then you have all these stipulations. But apparently, Argentina didn't really have much of a choice. They need the life-saving vaccine. Their people are dying. They have to make decisions. And then Pfizer came back and said, listen, we need you to have an offshore insurance policy for us to be able to administer this vaccine to you guys. So I understand the need to protect yourself. I understand the need to protect your company. This vaccine is something that everybody has been rushing Pfizer for and other companies to put out. So I understand that, but to want to take no accountability for what you have put out into the market is irresponsible and extremely dangerous. Now, I'm not going to tell anybody whether they should take the vaccine or they shouldn't take the vaccine. That's not my place. I'm not a doctor. But when you look at some of the practices and some of the things that they're asking for, they're mandatory. They will not sell you the drugs if you do not have clauses that protect them from any litigation and liabilities. Now, Pfizer is projected to make $15 billion this year. 2021, Pfizer is projected to make $15 billion off of that vaccine alone. And you mean to tell me you don't want to be liable on any level for the product that you are putting out? That's something scary. And then you're extorting countries. You want to have collateral, military bases, embassies of these countries, Argentinian embassies. You also want fraud insurance. What do you need fraud insurance for, Pfizer? What do you need fraud insurance for? Who are you deceiving? So these are the problems that Argentina had when they were going into negotiations with Pfizer. And they broke away from the table, they came back, and they did more negotiations, and I believe at this point, they have received some of the Pfizer medication. Another example, Brazil. They wanted Brazil to waive foreign sovereign assets in favor of Pfizer. So they want to use anything that Brazil owns internationally as collateral. They want to waive it. They want to give it to Pfizer. So Pfizer is making all kinds of strange deals to get these vaccines, for people to get these vaccines, holding them hostage, using the leverage of the lives of the people to extort countries. This is ridiculous. There needs to be lawsuits and litigation. Somebody needs to pay for what's happening. During a pandemic, you cannot price gouge or overuse leverage because people are in a desperate situation. I'm a businessman. I've been in business for years. I understand when you have certain levels of leverage, you can increase your price. But when it is at the stake of human lives, and you want to take country sovereign assets, you're going too far. You're going too far. Now, it's not like Pfizer was in a shortage for cash. Under Trump, he already he gave them $2 billion in advance for pre-sales of this drug. $2 billion in pre-sales of this drug. They also received, through their German partner, $435 million from Germany. So they've received a lot of money in advance for this. They have a deal with COVAX to deliver 40 million doses to impoverished nations. And that's their donation. Now we'll see if they will keep up with what they've said that they're going to do. But they have been extorting countries on a huge scale. They've been taking advantage of this situation. Now, nobody has a problem with them making money. They're doing the job. If it's going to save lives, people should pay for it when they have it to pay. But in a situation of a pandemic where you can save lives, it can't always be that you have to get the max out of every country in every situation. Now you charge America and some of the first world countries your regular rate, but your poorer country that you just know can't afford it, you don't ask for their land or military bases as collateral. You put them on a payment plan. You do something that helps them get the life-saving drugs they need now, and they pay you as they go along. They're not in the same position as the first world countries. To be honest, Pfizer, you wouldn't dare ask some of the first world countries what you just asked. They would kick you out. Because you know they can go to another company or they can make a drug themselves. But you try this mess on the other countries, the poorer countries, the countries that need it the most, that have the least amount of options. That's who you go to and try to extort them and take sovereign items from their country. Military bases. What do you need military bases for? When they default on the loan, if they default on the loan, what are you going to do with those military bases? Are you going to sell them to the highest bidders, their enemies? What are you going to do, Pfizer? What would you do with those? So this is abuse on the highest level, and it's been shown all around the country, but I don't see it in a lot of U.S. media, and that's why I want to bring it to your attention. Now, I have no problem people taking the vaccine, but you have to pay attention to the companies and their practices. What are you supporting? What are you supporting? Because it could easily be you. It could easily be you. It could easily be any of these other countries. We can't afford for people to be in a better position to take advantage of people that are not in a better position. It's irresponsible. Brazil is the third largest affected country from COVID with their own strain of COVID. And some of the things that Pfizer was asking for, instead of just helping those people, the third largest affected country with its own strain of COVID, Pfizer wanted Brazil to waive its foreign assets in favor of Pfizer. They wanted Brazil to write it into law that Pfizer is not subject to their rules, the country's law. Pfizer didn't want to be responsible for the delay of the vaccine coming in. They wanted the right to change the delivery schedule as they see fit when people are in trouble in these countries. They wanted Pfizer not to be held liable in any civil court when it comes to Brazil. These are the insane things they're at. So people, you tell me, is Pfizer a hero, a white knight? Or are they pandemic profiteers that are putting profit above the lives of their global citizens? This is Observe, signing out.